Hindi yung ano lang, minamagic din lang ng mga congressman minsan. O maglagay dito ng tulay, ng daan papunta dun sa hacienda niya. Di ba?
Yeah.
Oh, so
you want to remove the arbitrary, yung kumbaga may veto points ng mga congressman, legislators na pwedeng may mga mangyaring kababalaghan. But at the end of the day, they should be coordinated with the executive. Engineers should look at it, experts should look at it, right? Hindi lang mga politiko sa Kongreso.
Yes, ano naman yun eh. Lahat naman may, kunyari sa mga munisipyo, meron sila mga municipal engineers. Sila magde-determine kung ano talaga yung kailangan. Then, pag pinopose mo yan sa national government, eventually, titignan nila kung part yan ng municipal development plan. So, ima-match na nila yun doon. Pero meron kasing mga infrastructure projects na talagang hindi nakikita because hindi siya apparent or, yun na nga, meron yung mga batang tumatawid pa ng ilog eh. Tumatawid ng ilog, papunta lang sa eskwela.
Yeah, you've seen the documentaries.
So, paano yun? Who would be the one who will push for that bridge to be built there?
Do we need a new system kung saan, kasi may yung participatory budgeting, ginagawa ni Pinoy, nangyari yan sa Brazil, other countries, kung saan even yung mga ordinaryong mamamayan, meron silang say dun sa mga priorities na nakita. Kasi yung super on the ground na yung civil society, mamamayan. So meron kang levels of consultation and coordination until solid yung buong project. And then transparent din siya. You can check what's the development of the project, who are the contractors, what is the bidding. What is the ideal, consolidated, transparent process kung saan ma-allocate ang tamang pera sa tamang proyekto na walang kalokohan na nangyari? Is there some system you can think about?
Kailangan kasi talagang gamitin natin yung mga halal na bayan. Whether ang assumption nito, corrupt naman sila lahat. Kaso that's the system we have eh. Pag sila yung binoto, barangay captain, alam nila kung ano yung pangangailangan ng lugar nila. Then sa munisipyo o city hall, dapat alam nila kung ano yung pangangailangan ng. So sila sa kanila magagaling yung request. Then ganun din yon sa congressman, sa kanila i-compile nila yon sa lahat, sa buong distrito nila yon. Then sila ngayon magiging bosses nun sa representatives. Ngayon, kailan papasok yung tao? Doon sa implementation. Doon nyo bantayan. So, from the bidding process hanggang sa implementation, doon sila magbabantay. Pero hindi pwede kasi yung sinasabing participatory governance. Maganda lang yan theoretically, pero pag implement mo sa ground, ano siya? It can be, ano ba tawag nito?
Infiltrated, co-opted.
Oo, basta they can game the system still eh. Ang pinakang ano dito is, pwede siyang konsultahin. Siyempre, yung taong bayan din naman yung kukonsulta. Yung barangay captain, kailangan sensitive siya sa pangangailangan ng mga constituente niya. Yeah. So, pag in-address niya yung pangangailangan na yun, edi pagka na-deliver niya yun, edi he can be assured of a re-election. Yun. Doon sa municipal level, ganun din. Dapat makikita nila yon. Yung taong bayan, yung mga watchdogs, doon sila sa implementation. O, ito yung mga projects dito sa lugar na to, dito sa barangay na to. Doon yung ngayon titignan kung ginagawa nga ba talaga. Kasi wala tayong magagawa dito. Ito yung sistema, di ba? I believe the system is okay. The problem is the people running the system.
So we have to vote more responsibly, basically.
Ganun talaga yun.
But no additional safeguards. I mean, because some people are also yung sinaslice yung budget, line budget. Tapos maraming mga kalokohan nangyari little here and there. What about those aspects?
Kasi nga, ang pananaw ko, even nung panahon ni Duterte, kahit opposition ako, pero hinahayaan ko yung budget niya. Bakit? Kasi yan yung ang mekanismo ng isang presidente para ma-deliver niya yung serbisyo sa taong bayan. Ang binabantayan ko yung implementation. 'Di ba? Kasi doon nagkakaroon ng nakawan. Pero not the budget per se. Kung ang priority niya education, makikita mo doon. Kung priority niya infrastructure projects, makikita mo doon sa budget. Pero wala ka pa makikitang doon nakawan. Kaya I question yung mga nagsasabing this is a corrupt budget o hindi corrupt budget. Kasi budget lang yan eh. Parang budget sa bahay. Ito para sa kuryente, para sa baon, gano'n. Wala pa yun eh. Papel pa lang yun. Pero pagka sinabi mo dito, bayad mo sa kuryente, 2,000. Pero ang kuryente mo lang pala, 1,000. Yung 1,000, binulsa mo. Eh di doon na sa implementation yun.
That's where you see more the problem than the whole process of allocations and determination of allocations.
And pwede yan, mati-check na, ayusin natin yung auditing processes. Yung COA, kailangan natin armasan sila.
Linisan yan, no?
Hindi lang sila financial audit. Kasi yung COA natin, nagiging financial auditors lang yung papel-papel. They don't go out to the projects anymore.
To double
Kailangan
check,
nila ng technical audit capability. Kailangan makikita nila kung gaano kakapal yung semento na nilagay doon sa kalye. Kailangan yung mga sheet file na nilalagay, gaano ba kalalim. They should have that capacity. Wala silang ganun.
Na on-the-ground project assessment.
Puro auditors, puro CPA yung nandiyan. Financial auditing sila. And ang galing ng mga...
numbers.
Oo, mag-manufacture ng mga papel. Na perfect na nila yan, yung biding-bidingan.
Yeah.
On paper, makita mo, everything is in order. Pero doon mo makita kung substandard yun, edi
so maybe public accountants, civil engineers, civil society restaurants, they can work. They can have a kind of a multi-agency and also kind of a
yes, yung mga watchdogs na gano'n.
Yeah,
tapos ako I've been proposing tanggalin yung mga resident auditors eh. Yung resident auditors kasi na let's say nako-co-op sila o nako-coerce sila. Pero pagka rotating sila, niraraffle kung ano yung audit nila. Di ngayon, they can do their jobs dispassionately and without fear or favor. They can...
And their budget also, we had Heidi Mendoza also on this platform. She was saying na, minsan parang binubuli yung mga COA people sa Senado or sa Kongreso. Yung mga senador na tinamaan nila, bubuliin sila sa budget and all. So, you need fiscal autonomy, not only capability upgrade.
Yeah. Supposed to be may fiscal autonomy yung COA. And kailangan mo talagang taasan yung sahod nila, yung
recruitment level,
yung capability nila expand. Kasi naging dekahon na na financial audit lang sila eh. Hindi dapat. They should be there on the field. Technical audit ang mas importante dito. Kasi kung meron ganon, wala mag-ghost project. Kasi, mabibisto ka agad eh. Pero pag financial audit, makakalusot pa sila. Ngayon, yung reason kung ba't nga tatanggalin mo yung resident auditors, pag meron lang silang district offices, iraraffle mo lang doon. Ngayon, hindi alam nung mayor, congressman, kung sino yung lalagyan nila para hindi sila magkaroon ng disallowance o suspension. Whereas kung may resident auditor, kaya nilang suhulan. Kaya nilang, kung hindi nila masusuhulan, pinapatay yung ibang mga COA auditor. So, yun yung mga proposal ko na sinubmit ko dati.
So, using that logic, your framework, what's your problem with Pulong's 51 billion? Yeah. There's nothing wrong with the allocation. The implementation is where things went wrong. Like,
there's something wrong with the allocation kasi hindi siya equitably distributed. Kailangan yung national resources equitably distributed based on the population or the needs, di ba? Kaya hindi naman kunyari, may population ka, malaki population mo, pero progressive na kayo, moderno na yung inyong lungsod, doon naman dun sa mga nangangailangan. So that's the equitable distribution. Ito hindi eh. 51 billion na yung Davao City. Ang laki-laki pa nung era niyan ng Davao City. Hindi ma-justify yon. So, that alone, may problema doon. Tapos, physically, impossible magkaroon ka ng 51 billion pesos ng project dyan sa isang distrito na yan.
Yung absorption capacity.
Capacity. Tapos, yun na, hindi lang. But yung physical limitations of the area, maliit lang siya for a 51 billion peso budget. Yun.
And that's where you think something fishy happened.
And meron talaga.
Ebidensya. So what are you expecting? Like, what about the other projects of Duterte? When Sara was the mayor, what about those projects? Not to mention things she has been... Kasi may kaso na sa kanya for her DepEd tenure. Pero she was also a mayor during Digong's time. What about the budget implementation allocations back then?
We will be filing a case na naman this month. No? We'll be filing graft cases against Sara Duterte. Again, doon sa mga ginawa niya. Kasama na doon nung mayor pa siya. Graft cases.
Graft cases, yeah.
So, yun. Maraming ginawa silang mga illegal krimen. At yun yung paraan ko para mamulat yung mga tao, yung mga moderate supporters niya, even yung diehard supporters niya, makita nyo na hindi lang ito salita-salita lang, kundi mga documented.
Kasi black ops na naman kasi takot daw kayo sa kanya na manalo na naman siya sa 2020. That was their line, diba? Black propaganda lang yan.
hindi, yung black propaganda kasi is salita lang, social media. Pero pag finailan ka ng kaso, documented yan. I cannot fabricate documents and evidence kasi pwede ko makasuhan noon. Di ba? Pwede ko makasuhan. Pero yan yung mga ginagawa para nga doon. And dapat matakot tayo na kung mananalo si Sara kasi gigibain yan yung Pilipinas. Yun yung hindi naiintindihan ng mga maka-Duterte. Pero siguro, kung magre-reflect sila, tignan lang nila yung sarili nilang buhay. Doon sa 6 years ni Duterte ba, umasenso ba sila? Gumanda ba yung buhay nila? Di ba? Ang gumanda lang ang buhay yung mga Dutertes. Naging bilyonaryo sila. Lahat. Many times over. So yun. Until they can grapple with that reality na nabudol sila, magkakaproblema tayo.
Do you think people have been forgetting that? Kasi Sara's number obviously are not as high as before. I mean, the Duterte used to be 95% approval, whatever, right? Even in Mindanao, we see some slight movement there. But nevertheless, ang layo ni Sara kay President BBM in terms of approval ratings and all. I mean, first of all, I don't know what are they approving of. Wala naman siyang ginagawa. But having said that, hindi pa parang nadidistract din ng taong. I'm not talking about the DDS. I'm talking about the 70-80% of the population are not with them. Do you think they're distracted from also the other side of the coin while everyone is looking at what's happening in DPWH? I mean, just looking at the case of Yusek Cabral, the late Yusek Cabral, right? I mean, her rise to power was really during Digong's time, right? A lot of projects of this guy started during Digong's time. And yet people talk as if all of this corruption is just the last 2 years, 3 years, or it's just the 2025 budget, which was the worst ever and all of that. Hindi may parang imbalance, asymmetry, and that's actually helping the cause of the Dutertes?
That's exactly what happened. I think, yan naman yung pagkakamali ng ICI. They had the opportunity na imbisigahan ito from where it started.
Yeah.
Nung panahon
2016, yeah.
Kung chronological yung kanilang investigation, hindi ganyan na magiging
yung PCIJ kasi nag-release. I mean, klarong-klaro sa PCIJ, the Diskaya companies, all of these dodgy companies, dun lumobo suddenly.
Even Bernardo, even Cabral, dun sila, yun yung heyday nila eh.
Exactly.
Kaso ngayong ICI,
purong latest lang,
ako feeling ko, dahil it's either takot sila sa mga Dutertes or kasabwat. Ako, I'm ready to get there. Kasama na itong sina Babe Singson and kasi binibuild up na parang mga maayos na tao. Kasi kung maayos sila, dapat doon nila sinimulan. Bakit di nila ginalaw? They were there, yung 2 commissioners na nag-resign. Bakit hindi nyo pinatawag si Bongo? Bakit hindi nyo in-insist na humarap si Pulong? Tapos bakit si Bernardo?
Si Sandro pa yung pumunta.
O lahat pumunta except si itong mga ito. 'Di ba? That makes you question eh. Kaya ako wala akong believe sa kanilang lahat, pati yung mga nag-resign. Hindi ako believe dun sa mga yon kasi they had the power, they had the opportunity. Ayusin na natin to. Kailan to nagsimula? Si Bernardo, itinalagay yan ni Bongo noong 2017. Hindi ba material yon?
So even the Zaldicos and the Eric, I mean, lahat yan, mga panon hindi Digong ang kanilang rise to power.
So, yun na yung nangyari. Kaya nangyari ngayon, tinamaan si President Marcos. Parang it's as though sa term lang niya nagsimula ito. So, yan ngayon ang backlash niya. Ang pagtitignan mo naman doon ako tinitignan ko, hindi naman yung net yung approval. Tingnan mo yung approval. 38 kay President Marcos and 56, I think, kay Sara. Mababa yon for Sara na wala ka na nga na spare ka na nga sa mga tapos 56 ka na lang. And I remember nung panahon nung kay Binay noon before we started the investigation against him, umabot siya ng mga low 80s, high 70s ng mga panahon na yon. Preference yun Hindi yon approval rating, kundi voter preference.
To be the next president, potentially.
Tapos yung mga kalaban doon, kasi 5-way race yung ginagawa namin, 4-way race, 4%, 3% lang yung iba.
Runaway
winner.
Talagang
runaway winner. Pero nung namulat sila, the people started turning away from.
Pero yung problema, di ba, natuto yung mga DDS kaya in-attack yung Philippine Daily Inquirer, That's why they attacked the media, right? Because it was the media that exposed the Binay era anomalies, right?
ABS-CBN.
Exactly.
So, yun ang ginawa nila, binanatan nila yung mainstream media, tapos pinalakas nila yung social media nila, kaya they can reach the deep corners of the archipelago. Samantalang yung admin hindi na nare-reach yun. So na-game na nila yung system. But we still have time to counter these
And
things.
space to attack that. So this goes down to basically the ombudsman now at this point in time because the ICI came short. So what is the way forward? Ombudsman, and not to mention, Ombudsman Remolio just mentioned the other day, malaki rin ang corruption sa judiciary. Without casting aspersions, some people are finding it very suspicious that in the past 12, 15 months, ang daming na acquit bigla sa Sandigan Bayan. Was it because the previous ombudsman didn't do an airtight case? Was it because pinabayaan? Or is it because maybe the Sandigan Bayan dapat bantayan? What's going on here?
It's a confluence of all these factors. Kasi doon pa lang, yung mga investigador pa lang sa ombudsman, meron ng parking fee na babayaran mo para hindi nauusad yon, hindi naakyat sa taas. So, iba't ibang levels yung corruption. Then, if at all na ipa-file nila, then yung incompetence naman would kick in. Kasi nilalamon sila ng mga dekampanilyang mga abogado.
Yeah.
Yung mga nag-hear dito, talagang they cover so much ground. Kaya, judicial reform also is
Very important.
Is called for at this point. Pero that's for another time. Kasi kailangan yan, mag-a-appoint ka ng mga maayos, then bibigyan mo sila ng resources para ma-insulate na hindi yung kasi yung nila survival wages
For lawyers, especially.
For lawyers
unacceptable yan.
Kailangan bigyan natin, ma-entice natin yung mga
Best and
mga
brightest,
maayos na abogado through good pay, di ba? And protection. So, I proposed also yung creation ng marshal service para meron, aside sa pag-administer ng mga notices o kung ano man, kailangan ito yung security din ng members of the judiciary, kasama ni ombudsman. Sila nagpo-provide noon. Kasi ang hirap kunyari, ikaw, nililitis mo isang drug lord, tapos uuwi ka sa inyo, di ba, driving by yourself. Delikado yun. Mawawalan ka ng confidence to
your job, basically.
To your job. So, yun.
So yung vulnerability nila and compensation nila.
Then, you need to start picking good justices, yung maayos talaga yung background. Hindi yung, alam mo, fixer, kaya mo nilagay, kunyari sa Supreme Court, hindi fixer talaga yun. So, maraming gagawin. But, very basic pa yung problema natin, yung kinakaharap natin ngayon. Ngayon, moving forward, I would recommend, kung sa admin, I would advise them na bigay na lang nila sa ombudsman yung paglilitis na. So that they can focus on delivering yung kanilang mga pinangako sa taong bayan. Kung legacy mode sila, para yun yung makita ng tao. Kasi pagka nag-hands-on ka dyan, tapos kinakapos ka, yung corruption ngayon talaga nag-stick sa'yo. Imbis na yung services na talagang yun naman dapat ang priority mo, ito naman collateral duty lang dito na naipasa mo na sa ombudsman. So yun na yun. Yun yung moving forward kailangan nilang gawin para makarecover sila dun sa mababang rating sila.
Before with the last part of our discussion, Senator, in terms of what should happen with the middle forces in the coming weeks, kasi February is expected to be a big month in the every sense of the word. Etong ombudsman, do you entertain the argument na the ombudsman could potentially help trigger a new round of impeachment against Sara? Or is that even sensible at this point in time, given that by February, mawala na yung time limit, malift na yung time limit in terms of refiling of impeachment against Sara Duterte?
Okay, I know for a fact, Richard, na pine-prepare na yung impeachment case para kay Sara. The moment mag-lapse na yung 1-year ban, ifa-file yun. So whether the ombudsman would have a part in it or not, mangyayari yun.
Well, it gives it credibility, right? If the ombudsman acts upon all of this evidence and all that.
Yes. But yun na nga, it's independent of that. It's an independent action. And based on the Supreme Court ruling,
new rules,
magkakaroon ng hearing sa
Congress mismo.
Sa Congress
Plenary ka agad.
Ngayon, di doon pa lang, lalabas na ito. Yung mga bank accounts na to, exception to the rule yan. Sa bank secrecy law, lalabas na yan. And by the way, meron ng nahawakan yung ombudsman dati galing from AMLAC. At yun na nga yung ginamit ni then overall Deputy Ombudsman Carandang to say na talagang parehas o similar doon sa inattach ko doon sa aking plunder case kay Duterte.
Right.
So, yun, lalabas yun sa House pa lang. Kumaga may mini trial na mangyayari doon pa lang. At hindi ka madidistract ng mga Duterte senators.
Mga abogado niya.
Abogado niya. Sila Marcoleta, sila Amy, kung sino-sino. Hindi sila makaka-intervene doon. Di magandang opportunity yun. Makita ng tao na hindi lang to sinisiraan. Mga kurakot yung mga Duterte. And
killers. I mean, that's why nasa ICC yung isa. I mean,
oh.
the ICC vindicates you, right? I mean, you've been saying this for a long time.
Yes. Pero yung iba kasi, gina-justify pa yun na okay lang naman pinatay kasi mga masamang tao yun. Hindi nga eh. Hindi nga, mali nga. Tapos, bukod pa ron, ito, ginagawa lang niya kasi nga, pinoproteksyonan niya yung drug lord niya. So, they set up their own cartel. So, excuse me, hindi niya nakita yon. Hindi nila nakikita yon. Plus, makikita nila yun doon sa bank accounts. So, hopefully, mamulat sila doon. Ito, 56 ang approval niya, vulnerable yon.
Anyway, she came down at one point significantly last year.
Yeah,
last year, sorry.
Conducting a survey within the next few weeks para makita natin yung bagong baseline na ito. New year, so new baseline. We'll see kung saan yung mga lagay ng mga different personalities. At ito, scenarios yung gagawin namin, hindi lang yung long list na labo-labo.
Senator, of course, we discussed this in the previous 2 episodes last month, but balikan natin, ito na, this is 2026 na.
Yeah.
February could be a big year where a new impeachment could come up. There's going to be EDSA-related celebrations, among other things. Do you think this is the year, or make it or break it, in terms of at least determining the mechanisms by which kailangan ba ng primaries? Kasi my understanding, Senator, is, as we speak, different potential candidates from the middle forces are already getting the ball rolling, talking to potential sponsors, whether tycoons, whether civil society groups, position na sila in terms of projections online, in terms of analytics. You have seen also some of my parang Ezra Klein style. Okay, if ito yung president, ito makita natin, I've made the case for Riza, for BAM, for different people. For you, I'll make also that case also, Senator. No, I mean, I'm just trying to make sure people know we have options.
Yeah.
No option is perfect, but we have many good options. As I said, it's you, Risa, Bam, Kiko, Lenny, whoever it is. But we still have to, it should be one, right? Hindi pwede ma-split yan eh. Even John Vic, the other month, na biglang suddenly is also open to be the standard president. Pati siya, aminado siya, it cannot be a split vote. Otherwise, babalik talaga mga Dutertes.
Okay. Well, to begin with, I'm taking myself out of that race. If there's a role to play for me, it's to bring the Dutertes down. And talagang I have embraced that role. So okay lang ako. Ngayon, meron ng mekanismo, meron ng selection committee, at least as far as the middle forces are concerned. Kaya nga sila nagpo-posturing. Maganda yon. That's a good thing. Ibig sabihin, nagpe-prepare sila. And part of that, yung pagka nagpe-prepare itong mga by talking to potential donors para makaikot sila, different sectors, alam nila yung importance nung
early
2020 nung 2028. And that's a good sign for these candidates na may sense of urgency sila. So, maganda yon. Pero, part of the mechanism is magkakaroon nga ng survey, di ba? Internal survey. So, kung sino sa kanila ang pinakang viable compared doon. At itong mga ito, sila yung open. Hindi pwede yung nag-decline ka o wala kang kung nag-decline ka na, hindi ka na isasama doon. Kasi kailangan, you must want this. You must want to serve the country.
And face the risks and dangers.
Kasi, alam mo yung magiging presidente sa 2028, hindi ito walk in the park. Hindi ito parang, papasok ka sa isang paraiso. Hindi. Ang daming political forces at play. The Dutertes will remain there. Very potent yan. Tapos mga bata pa yan sila. Even if they don't win now, 2028, sa 2034, they can still be
may next generation pa. May Omar, may Kitty, may Digong the second.
Hanggang doon, hanggang kingdom come yan. So,
Thracian warfare.
Yeah. Kaya kailangan, kung ma-expose na sila this early, or pagka nanalo, di ba? Then, make them accountable. At least matutuldo ka na yon. So, yung presidenteng papasok, kailangan may intestinal fortitude to face all these challenges. Kasi hindi peacetime president yung next yung president sa 2028. Kaya importante yung kailangan proactive, hindi pwedeng passive. Ganon.
Wow, the very constructive. I like this. But you see where I'm coming from, right?
Yeah.
'Cause I'm just throwing out the nest and let's
okay
get the
yun.
ball rolling, and then mag-decide na tayo kung anong way. And you're
let me just add,
please, Senator.
so yung assuming makapagpili na yung middle forces, Richard,
Yes.
the next step is how to forge a coalition with the
Other forces.
Marcos forces in particular. Kasi that's the only way. Kung three-cornered fight ito, one for the Dutertes, one for the admin, and one for the middle forces.
Mananalong Duterte.
Mananalo yung Duterte. Kasi solid yung kanila sa Mindanao. Pero kung mag-join forces itong dalawa, from the get-go, malalamangan nila yung, si Sara Duterte.
But wouldn't that undermine the credibility of the middle forces, considering you still have around 40% of the population who are unaffiliated and are not necessarily happy with BBM, at least given the 30% approval that the president has? What about them? Isn't it important you win over also that 40%? And therefore, any new unity should be calibrated, at least in terms of optics.
Pagkadalawa kasing magsasama kayo, mas marami kayong magpo-poach doon sa unaligned. As I mentioned during your last vlog, 4 yung bloke, di ba? Duterte, admin, middle forces, and yung
non-affiliated.
Non-aligned, yung no affiliation. So, pagka nagsama ito, yung pag-poach nyo rito, ganun. Mas marami kayo magpo-poach doon sa...
Ma-amplify yung ability niyo to recruit new...
kasi person to person,
Yeah.
ang most effective way of recruitment. Kung mas marami kayo, mas marami doon. We've done that before, yung isolationist mindset natin, purist mindset. Hindi nangyari. And hindi ka naman, ito pa, ang po-provide pa nung admin is the resources and the machinery. Yung mga LGUs, they would have a way to communicate with them. So, basta find a common ground. Ano ba yung mga gagawin nating reforms? Ganon. Then, yung mga issues na medyo mabigat o touchy for both sides, wag na muna, galawin. Then focus lang doon sa common program of government that you can agree on. Then hindi naman imposibleng mangyari 'yon. That way you can guarantee victory, then you can serve. Kasi mas importante, 'di ba? Ano ba mas importante? Yung purity nung ways mo, hindi nga yung intentions yung ways mo, or yung makapagsilbi ka sa bayan para masimulan mo na yung reforma na hinahangad mo noon pa. Di ba? Kasi pag natalo ka, no matter how you say na, well, at least hindi ako nakipagsanib pwersa sa kanila, basta't ako lang yung magaling. Ano ka ngayon? You see our country being run by the people na kinalaban mo. Di ba? Kasi nga, you felt na you had a better program that you'd be able to make a better difference in the lives of the people. Kaso, out of pride, hindi mo ginawa yung kailangan mo gawin para manalo. Yun.
To be fair though, Senator, I think since we were having this discussion January 2025, late 2024, it looks like people are kind of getting what's going on here. So the conversation is no longer that, kailangan na may counter-coalition and all. I think the conversation is that, okay, how do you do it in a way na comfortable lahat? I mean, imagine if an Aquino is a standard bearer. Let's say, bam, okay, let's spell it out. Do you, like Aquino, Marcos together, and they say we're moving forward? I mean, wouldn't there be some tension, some difficulties there? Or if it's Riza, who's known as very progressive and strong against the Marcos dictatorship legacy, wouldn't that be also a little bit tricky? So I think now the discussion is moving to a more mature, tactical, positioning optics kind of discussion. And then more important than, you keep on mentioning survey. I'm going to have discussion again with folks from Okta and W Numer and other survey agencies also later this week, which is, ano bang alam natin dun sa 40% na yan? Kasi parang medyo, hindi naman black box. But we still have to figure out, ano bang pumipitik sa kanila Because at the end of the day, we can have all the debate among ourselves and us, Duterte, ganun. Pero we have to win over the majority of Gen Z, millennials, and that 40%. So yung dalawang issue na I want to end on this because I think this is very important na we're now more maturing towards, okay, how should this look like, this coalition building na palatable to both sides at doesn't alienate core bases from both sides? unless your argument is no, the existential threat is clear, but I don't think everyone is also that realistic, unfortunately. And then the second part is, shouldn't we have more studies and proper analysis of anong pumipitik dito sa 40% at kabataan na yan? Because they are the key to victory.
Okay. Una, doon sa pagiging open doon sa possible coalition.
Or should they be open? Or?
Ito, alam mo yung mga ganitong discussions, ganito sa vlog mo, sa podcast mo, na-open eh. Yung mga listeners mo, yan yung medyo mga politicized segment of society, marirealize na, nga, no? Sige nga, subukan. Then eventually, kasi even whether it's BAM or RISA, yan naman yung supporters sila. Once naging open yung supporters, the core supporters, the base, magiging open. Yun lang naman eh. Just sit down, ano ba yung red line sa inyo? Ano yung non-negotiable? Ultimately, yun na nga, do you want to serve this country? If that's what it would take to serve this country, then cross the aisle by all means. When was in the Senate, ang dami kong gustong ipasang batas. I needed to cross the aisle.
Yeah.
I did. Si late Senator Miriam, gusto ko ipa-expel niyan before. Pero talagang niligawan ko siya, so to speak, para lang makuha ko siya. Kailangan ko siya, not as an enemy, but as a supporter doon sa mga advocacies ko. And si late Joker Arroyo, ganun din.
Coalition building.
So mas importante sa akin yung advocacy than yung petty quarrels namin. Di naipasa ko mga batas. I think ganun din naman yung titignan nila BAM and RISA dito. Na ano ba mas importante sa atin? Yung ano na yan? Yung tags na yan? Labels na yan? Or yung mga pagsilbi tayo sa bayan? I think the Marcoses would be very much open to embracing a middle force candidate, di ba? Para lang, kasi nga existential eh. Yung alternative is destruction of democracy. So do you want that? No, so hindi. Then let's work together. So yan, that's one. Doon naman sa yung what motivates itong 40% na ito. Unang-una, part nung survey namin is i-define yung affiliations nila. Saan ka ba? Di ba? Duterte ka ba? Marcos? Ganito, ganyan. Tapos, titignan natin, ngayon, kung dito ka, saan mo ba kinukuha yung informasyon mo? Di ba? Ano yung mga aspirations mo? Kumbaga, ano yung mga gusto mo na prioridad ng isang magiging presidente ng Pilipinas? So, more behavioral yon. Voter behavior yung aspeto na yon. Pero yung critical yung affiliations. Para ma-define na natin talaga, ilan ba yung maka Duterte, ilan yung maka Marcos, ilan yung maka middle force, tapos ilan yung wala silang pakialam sa politika. Then, doon na natin yung next experiment natin, next intervention natin, doon na natin ipapasok.
On that note, thank you very much, sir. That was a fantastic conversation. Parang kahit 5 hours, we can just keep on going on that. But this is good. That was quite a constructive conversation. We went from Caracas to Quezon City. Right? So that's quite a wide range.
Wide range.
Let's cover Greenland and the next episode. Salamat, Senator. Thank you very much. Again, everyone, for joining us for this latest episode. Deep dive, of course, dun sa mga nanonood sa atin ng live na nagko-complain baka if the audio is not perfect. Don't worry. We're gonna get the edited proper version also soon out, so don't worry. Mas makita niyo lalo ang the clarity at saka the compelling interventions ng ating special guest.
Gangster, we do that better than anybody. I bet you got it twisted, you don't know who to trust. So many player hating niggas trying to sound like us. Say they ready for the front, but I don't think they know it. Straight to the depths of hell is where them cowards going. Well, all you still down, nigga, holler when you see me. And let these devils be sorry for the day they finally free me. I got a caravan of niggas every time we ride. Hitting motherfuckers up when we pass by. Until I die, live the life of a